For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. Welcome to The Scribble. How's it going today? Happy Friday. I gotta tell you, I retired a couple years ago, so for me, saying that everybody looks forward to Friday, right? Oh, it's the weekend. One more day till Friday. Oh yeah, just a couple hours to go. It's totally different when you have no, obligations. I have no, dickhead boss that I've got to answer to for just a couple more hours and deal with him, and then I get to go home. It's very refreshing. There you go. Rub it in your face as we head into this holiday weekend for Canadians and Americans alike, because Canada Day and 4th of July both on the way, depending on when you're listening to this. So what I'm going to be talking about today for the next 30 minutes of time-wasting fun is exactly that. This patriotism. Is it a problem to be patriotic? I mean, it's one thing to recognize the trials and tribulations of your country, your homeland, perhaps. But are people calling you out because you're waving your flag, and does it seem like you're ignoring the injustice, or is it just okay to celebrate that you live in a frickin' great country? That's coming up in the first segment, and then later in the show, speaking of the past, do you hang on to things from the past? I'm not talking about emotional baggage. I'm talking about the things you can actually literally hold, the physical things. Your mementos, things from your childhood, things from when you travel. Do you buy those souvenirs? Do you come home with the seashells and the picture frame and go, I have no place for this. This doesn't go with the living room. This is an ugly... Why did I buy this? Do you have things like that? Do you keep them then? Do you just have a bunch of trinkets from your travels piling up? I'll tell you why I'm going in that direction in that segment as well. So, we've got 30 minutes of time-wasting fun, as I said, and it's starting on the Scribble right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now, it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month's supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
JB here on the Scribble. Let me also start out this segment by saying Happy Canada Day to our Canadian friends. Happy 4th of July to our American friends, right? Those are both, depending on when you're listening to this, they are either today, they're coming up, or they've happened, right? That's the thing with these types of shows now, is that I can't tell you that, you're listening on Friday, so Canada Day is tomorrow. Who knows when you're listening to this. But, every year it seems that there's a bigger discussion, at least in Canada anyway, about how Canada Day should be celebrated, because there has been a lot of injustice in both countries, all over the world, really, right? And so you kind of have this debate about, do we celebrate the country? Do people wave the flag? Do they wave the flag upside down? And of course, we know Americans with the flag. It's a different story altogether. But do we cancel Canada Day? Do we, and again, if you're not Canadian and you're not familiar with the you can Google it, but I mean, there's also political resentment, I guess, towards some of the political parties, to the leader, Justin Trudeau. And, do people celebrate Canada Day like they did back when? And I don't usually have My life is weird where I don't go and say, okay, I was 20 something years old when this happened. I remember it in time ago. So I don't know how old I was when I bought my house. I remember it as I've lived in my house. I bought my house 15 years ago. If that makes, I don't know if I'm explaining it properly. So I know very few, I don't remember what year this happened. I remember that I graduated in the year 2000 because that's just easy to remember. But I don't remember the year that I bought my house. Unless I start doing the math, right? I'm not saying that I can't figure out the math. I can't figure out how old I was when I bought my house. I'm just saying in the timestamp in my head is I bought my house 15 years ago, not I bought my house in 2000 whatever. I just don't look at it that way. So for me, I don't remember Canada Day when I was 8 years old. I remember it in an elementary school as being kind of a carnival like we had in the big field at the school. You know, we had games and prizes. It was like a big kind of a thing. Now, school was already out for summer at that point. So because we would then have something, whether it was the anniversary of the country, like if we had a milestone 100 and whatever birthday of the country, we would do things like that. And that's what I remember. And as I got older, I was kind of like, okay, it's kind of fun because you look to the holiday as a day off from work. And for me, I always followed a Canadian and American schedule for our radio programming. So I would generally get both holidays. And in broadcasting, though, in entertainment, that's not necessarily a day off because you might be either hosting something, you might have to be emceeing something, you might be on the air, you might be, you know, whatever's going on. And so it was always not a big holiday for me. And is that something that I take for granted as being a Canadian who, you know, born in Canada and around it all my life? Is it something where you go to a new country and you appreciate that country, so you wave the Canadian flag and you all out celebrate Canada Day? It could be that as well, right? Am I just sort of blasé to it because it's like, oh, it's just another Canada Day? But do people actually take that time and go, I'm really fortunate that I live in a country like Canada where I could have just celebrated Pride Month and not been afraid of, you know, well, I mean, I guess being killed for being gay. That's the reality in some countries, right? So, you know, people go and say, well, what do you do for Canada Day? I don't know if it's just that I'm old. I mean, I don't have kids, so it's not like we're going to be, you know, taking the kids to the park to watch the fireworks today. If there's fireworks in the neighborhood, if I hear about it, then we'll go. But we might even be asleep already at that point. So this whole thing about, you know, having national pride and being proud of your country, it's almost like you can't really vocalize that because then somebody will come back and go and say, well, how can you be that when Canada's had so many problems and blah, blah. So you can't win for losing. Is that the term? You can't win for losing? You can't win, period? I'm looking across the way. Bonnie, what is it? You can't lose for trying, can't win for trying? Whatever. So I can't win anyway. But that's where it's, you know, if I'm going to go big and celebrate Canada Day, people are going to call you out as being racist then because of what happened to Indigenous peoples back in the day, right? Like it's one of those things. You can't celebrate 4th of July in America because of the gun problem and the immigrant problem. So it's, you know, you're kind of like, well, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the better way of saying it. Thank you, Bonnie, telling me that as I was going on that rant. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, though? That almost seems like it's not okay to be patriotic in some senses. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt, your shoulder hurts, and your back. Oh my God, your back. They're constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here is something you haven't tried. Pain Absolve. Pain Absolve is not available in any drugstore. The only way to get it is by calling today. We're so confident that it will work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription needed, and best of all, each purchase comes with a money-back guarantee. Call now to find out how you can get Pain Absolve and get rid of your pain. Call 800-319-0582. That's 800-319-0582. 800-319-0582. Call today. 800-319-0582.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble, and summer is here, and school's out. I guess school's out for summer, as the song goes, right? That's a shout out to our older listeners here. But okay, so I'm going to take you on like 3 different stories, but they're kind of all related. So don't think that I'm a scatterbrain and I'm jumping everywhere, okay? Because I'm not. So I was watching, we had a rainy day the other weekend, and so I ended up binge watching, or just watching, I used to call them a marathon watch, but now it's called binge watching, those Hoarders shows, right? There's the actual one called Hoarders, then there's one hoarding something or other on TLC, there's a Canadian one now. So anyway, you know the shows, right? People have that basically a pile of shit, but just garbage in their house, which they're gonna literally climb over. They're stepping over things. They're touching the ceiling. That's how high this stuff is piled up when they walk through the room. And so I was watching that. Now, it made me realize that this is what the definition of hoarding, though, right? There's the clinical definition, which, is basically, it's an illness, right? And you're keeping things for either sentimental value, whatever it is, you can't let go. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons. It could be from a traumatic experience back in the day, right? Maybe somebody died and all of a sudden you just kind of shut down. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on this, but if you've seen the show, you hear the experts talking about it all the time. So in that definition of hoarder, no, I'm not a hoarder, because I can walk through a room and things aren't falling. I don't have to climb over things, aside from maybe a dog who's laying on the floor. But otherwise, yeah, our house is not, we don't have that. But it made me think about how I have all of my schoolwork from when I was a kid. And as an adult, by the way, in college as well. And there was something about it when I was a kid that I wanted to keep my school bag for, like every year I had a different backpack, right? I always got a new backpack. So when the school year would end, I would put all of my work and everything in that bag, and then it would just be thrown in a closet or whatever it was. And so for me, I have however many years you do school, right? Nursery or whatever it is through grade 12, and then however many years of college or university. And I have a filing cabinet for my college work, but my point is that I have every single piece of paper that I wrote on in school that I was, able to keep. I still have it. Now, it's in closets throughout my house. It's in, a basement closet under the stairs down in the basement or whatever. But the point is that I have it. So is that considered hoarding or not, right? You could say it's collecting, it's keepsakes. I mean, again, these are all things that are discussed on those shows. So while I was watching the shows, I was kind of like, I mean, I have a bunch of stuff like that, right? You know, when your grandparents die, and then the family sells the house, and you kind of go and you take some of these things that meant something to you as a kid. But that's I've got a couple things like that for my grandma's house when she was in a home for the last few years of her life, but the house was basically still there. My aunts, uncles, and my mom didn't sell the house. I don't know why. I think it was just. I think they felt kind of like, well, she's not dead, so let's not do anything with the house. Let's just leave it. And it was basically like a standstill, the house. When I went there after she had passed away, you go there and it was like she was just living here yesterday. Like nothing had changed. It was like time just stood still. Meanwhile, she had been in a home for, not quite 3 years. And so what I did was, after everybody had gone through, it kind of felt a little bit weird, right? You're picking at things after, oh, I want this, I don't want this. Oh, nobody wanted this. So I kind of felt bad that there was really old TV in the basement on this really old table and a really old chair beside it. And I was kind of like, you know what? We've got room in my basement. So I thought, why don't I, and Ukrainian and Polish, we call her a baba, right? My baba. I said, why don't I'll make the Baba Lounge in my basement. So I ended up getting the TV, this table, this chair, her lamp. She had a couple, her old radio, all these things exactly as it was positioned and like is in my basement. It's kind of recreated, right? I took it from her place and my mom kind of gave me shit at the time. Why do you want that stuff? It's my house, first of all. So if I want it, I want it. And it was just kind of fun because it's like I've got the Baba Lounge, and if I want to just kind of get away, play some kind of old music that reminds me of her, just to escape, I go down to the Baba Lounge, and there we go. So again, is that hoarding, whatever? Not necessarily, right? So then I go into my office a couple days later to do some work, and I was like, I've got this like there's a stack of papers under my desk, which I always kind of look at it and go, have I looked at any of these in the past 6 months? Have I done anything with them? Do I even know what's in all of this pile? No, I don't. But there's still that reluctance to get rid of it, right? Do you know what I'm talking? Do you ever go through this? And so the same thing. Now here's our other story now converging with this one is when I was hosting our syndicated radio shows, I traveled all the time, whether it was red carpets, whether it was generally it was tourism programming. So a tourism board would have me go somewhere. So it was, Pittsburgh or Lafayette, Louisiana, or Indianapolis or Las Vegas or Fort Lauderdale. So we'd go there and we would tape a bunch of radio shows telling people what they can do there. So we had audio and then we had a bunch of web content. And of course, every city that you go to, remember, these were done by tourism boards, so it's not like I was just going there and being, so I get there and I've got the welcome brochures, I've got the folder of all the information and business cards, and they give you all this information package because you're producing content and stories and things like we were. So it was some background information. Okay, you're going and doing this like museum tour, or you're doing a taco tasting, a taco tour, or a pub crawl, or whatever it is. Here's the history of this neighborhood that you're going to. So it was very informative. It really was. And again, I wasn't doing this as a blogger who was just taking pictures of food. I was actually doing interviews and hosting these people on our show. So I did need to have some actual facts and figures and stuff to talk about, talking points, we call them. But when I would get home, you know where I'm going with this, right? It would be thrown in a drawer. It would be thrown in the corner of the room. It would be put in the backpack that I got from that place. And now I've got a backpack from, I don't know which, let's say Pittsburgh, right? So now I've got a backpack from Pittsburgh with all of these tourism notes and brochures and flyers and handouts and hats and t-shirts and bandanas and trinkets and keychains and coffee mugs. And So after watching these hoarding shows, I'm kind of like, okay, I've got all these things from all these cities, from all over the world, from Panama. We did a whole bunch of cities in China. And I'm like, why am I keeping this stuff? Why do I need it? Like, why do I have it still? There's no sentimental value. There's nothing. And then, so now here's my third story is I sit down in my office then a couple days after that, and there's a story, I'm going to bring it up on my screen, in the New Yorker that's really just talking about how it says the case against travel. It turns us into our worst version of ourselves while convincing us that we're at our best. And initially what I thought this was going to be, again, this is in the New Yorker, so if you want to look it up, what I thought this was going to be like parents who think that it's going to be a great vacation with their kids and it's going to be a nice treat for spring break or whatever it is, and then it's a nightmare, right? It turns us into our worst, meaning the kids are a nightmare, I'm impatient with them, I'm losing my tolerance for my husband, blah, blah, all these things. But it's a little bit more in-depth, it's a little bit more intellectual. But the gist of it, towards the end, one of the last sentences is... and it does because you don't like to think about the fact that someday you will do nothing and be nobody. You will only allow yourself to preview this experience when you can disguise it in a narrative about how you are doing many exciting and edifying things. You are experiencing, you are connecting, you are being transformed, and you have the trinkets and photos to prove it. So there we go. Everybody goes on these vacations, and the writer is talking about going to an animal hospital, and it has a photo with a falcon on their arm or whatever it is, and they're like, would I ever do this in real life? Did I have any interest in falcons to begin with? Why would I go and do this as an experience? And then, of course, when we come back from the trip, we all say that it was wonderful, and we've taken 4,000 photos. Most people have posted them on social media in real time, so we all saw the experience. And then you kind of get home, and the whole belief is it's like, I'm a changed person. I've lived life. This was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And you're kind of like, was it though? Was it? So I see how all these stories converged now, right? Now they all come together. So I look at this and go, people ask me who know that I would travel a lot for the radio shows. Generally, cousins, when we have a family get together, somebody asks, oh, any trips coming up? Because I was always traveling somewhere when I was hosting the radio shows. I don't host them anymore. So, the travel for me is different. Or the travel frequency is different in that regard. And also the travel for me was a very different experience than what the typical vacationer goes through. Because, when you're planning a vacation, a lot of times you're researching the places that you're going to go to, right? Maybe somebody has an interest in art, so you'll go to a museum. Maybe, but I was doing things that I wouldn't normally do, as this writer in the New Yorker was saying. I have no interest. I hate kids. So for me to go to a children's museum and spend 3 hours there, or go to the zoo, I like animals, so the zoo is a bit different. But I would go to a children's museum in almost every city, and I'm kind of like, just get me the fuck out of there. And that's what we were doing though, right? The tourism boards were very welcoming, very hospitable, very much wanted to make sure that I was having a good time. And I know that one of our segment producers at some point would say to them before we would even do these shows, look, Jeremy's not there to have a good time. Jeremy is there to get the content. So don't worry about him having fun. Don't worry about it being like what he likes, because they were always asked that. Well, does he like this? Would he do this? Would he like, it's like, he's there. If it's compelling content, he'll do it. If it's interviewing kids who are doing something remarkable, or some local celebrity kids or whatever, he'll do it. If it's going to get us good content, he'll do it. And so, yeah, I would do things that I had no interest in. I had no interest in going to Lafayette, Louisiana, but once I did get there and experienced it and met people and took in the culture and took in the local music scene and the food, and it was very enjoyable. Now, would I go back to it? Yes, if somebody was paying for the trip. Like, I don't know how to just travel as a tourist anymore, because for 15, however many years of my adult life, trips were work related. So I don't know how to just go to Los Angeles and just hang out in Los Angeles, because I'm used to being there for entertainment and work and red carpets and the celebrity thing that I do. I don't know how to go to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and just check in as a regular hotel guest. Now, this is where people go, oh, poor privileged white man doesn't know how to. No, what I'm saying is, I have no interest in traveling, period. Not because I'm not going to be wined and dined and flown first class and it's actually going to cost me money for once. Those experiences were fun in the moment. And like I said, I'm going there to do the photo op, to record the interview, and, write a blurb and talk to the owner of the place, and then get the hell out of there. We made it look like I spent the afternoon picking grapes at the winery or whatever it was, but no, they rushed me through there. I got the pictures with the dude. I posed with him. We did our 6-minute interview, and we got the fuck out of there. We were there for maybe an hour. And that's fine. I'm not complaining, because I had no interest in staying there for any length of time. But, so that's where people are like, oh, you must love travel. I don't know, right? Because I've never just traveled to go somewhere. And so even, like when my husband wants to go somewhere, and I'm just kind of like, well, to Mexico, I've been there how many times for work? And once you've been there and done it all, you're kind of like, okay, so you can go and lay on the beach there, but it's like, we've got a beach not that far from our house. So I don't need the hassle of going through airport security, checking into a hotel, and that's exactly it. So this New Yorker article is talking about how, you go for change, but it's like, but we're not changing anything. We're kind of changing maybe the way we do things. Okay, so we're not cooking but we can go to a restaurant in our own hometown. But why would we go to another city just to do that? And it's funny, because I have no interest in traveling. I really don't. People are like, well, you retired from your radio, for almost over 2 years now. I've been retired. We have a very, very open day most days. We don't do very much, and I'm okay with that. My mom made a comment a while back saying like, oh, you're just wasting the day away. Yeah, but I'm fine with that. I don't. You have to realize that when I was in my early 20s and hosting the radio show and doing red carpets and basically working, the job of 6 people when I first started, because we didn't have producers, we didn't have all these people working on the radio shows. For me, these were 18, 20-hour days in some cases. So it was exhausting. So I've lived 5 lives compared to your one. And where people work to be able to pay for, look at me channeling, who was that, Rihanna? While people work to pay for those vacations, I was being paid to go on vacation. And that's where nobody ever understood, because when it came to the weekend, people, not the singer, the actual days of the week, when it came to the weekend, people are like, oh, you're not going out. Well, what'd you do this weekend? Nothing. You didn't do anything? I'm like, no, see, when you guys go out to clubs or travel or, you fly here for a long weekend or whatever it is, I did that during the week for my job. So I have no interest in like saving up to go on a big winter vacation or summer vacation, because I was doing that throughout the year already and being paid to do it. So it was the opposite with me. And again, I'm not, let me get back on track here. I'm not complaining about the life that I've lived, because I was very fortunate to be able to do all these things. It's tying back into, I've got all the crap from doing these things. Why have I held on to it? And again, back to the hoarder thing, it's because you think that someday it's going to come in handy. Someday. Seriously, if I were to go into my office at home and pick up these books and information packages and city guides and whatever, how many of those businesses have probably closed down in the past 10 years already? And how accurate is this business map? You kind of do hang on to business cards because you're kind of like, well, maybe it'll come in handy someday. Maybe I'll cross paths. Hey, remember that guy who had that business? Maybe we could team up for something. Sure, you keep stuff like that. But I mean, the brochure, the road map, or the hotspot destination map of the bars in the area, I'm kind of like, I'm never going back to Pittsburgh, and if I do, I'll just get another one while I'm there. Like, why do I hang on to these things? So watching the Hoarders shows made me think about how much I've kept from like my childhood and my school days, and then from my travels, and then this New Yorker article came up. It just made me think, yeah, why do I travel? You've got these trinkets, you've got all these photos. Do you ever look at them again? Do you ever go back to them? And so I had a conversation with my cousin. We got to wrap this up. I had a conversation with my cousin, and I said, I think back to when we've had family Christmases and somebody, sets up the video camera in the corner of the room and kind of just does not a live stream, but just sort of records everybody opening gifts. And I think, has anybody ever watched that again? Like, do you go home that night and watch it because you just lived it, a few hours earlier? Like, what's the point? So it could be mementos, right? It could be something where you go back. But I had a camcorder when I was a kid, as a teenager, and I went and I videotaped my graduation, things like that, right? I mean, I'm 40, almost 41 now. Maybe someday, just for kicks, I'll go and do it. But then, how often do you go back and watch those again, right? Is it worth hanging on to? I don't know. Share your thoughts. I've just pissed away half the show on this topic, so I hope you have an opinion on it. You've listened this far. Live at jbonair.com. Live at jbonair.com. Back on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you you chirping? Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. We're out of time, so in our final remaining moments, this is called vamping because I've got about 35 seconds. I want to wish everybody a happy Canada Day to our Canuckian friends and a happy 4th of July to our American listeners. And if you're listening from another country, I would love to know what your sort of national birthday is. Is that what you call it? Like Canada Day is Canada's, so what day of the year is it and what happens there? Is there big fireworks displays? Is there a big celebration? I'd love to hear about it. Send me an email. Where you're tuned in from, live at jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some